All right, hello everyone. Welcome back. We are live, and we are going to do the 14th Sunday after Pentecost, Introit Protector Noster in this video. I will be uploading shortly the other videos for the offertory, the communion, the gradual, and Alleluia. And it's a beautiful Sunday. I put as the thumbnail this week St. Augustine because his feast day is coming up on the 28th, this Saturday. So, I mean, it's close enough. So, put you in the mood for St. Augustine. Anyway, without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, before we start, make sure you hit the subscribe and bell icon. It does me a lot of good because then other people get the message, and I'm super excited. I want to try to beat, before the school year, before Memorial Day weekend, I want to try to get to 100 subscribers. That'd be awesome. I'm blown away that 78 people have subscribed already. Let's make it more. So, all right. So we have a mode for Introit. Mode 4 is really beautiful. In one of these videos, we'll kind of go over the little mnemonic that the medievals came up with. Got the Gloria Patri there. So with this one, I'm losing my train of thought. With this one, there's always a tendency in mode 4 to be kind of boring. This one is an exception. Some mode 4 introits just kind of go on and on and on and on, but this one's an exception. It's kind of short. So we're going to start this one off on F on the keyboard in the key of C major, so kind of ending on mi or E. So mode 4 is Phrygian. And let's sing it. And like always, what we're going to do is I'm going to start singing it. If I come up with anything I want to point out, any kind of something difficult or interval or an idea, I'll just mention it as we're going. But this is a tutorial, so we're just going to kind of blow through it. When we're all done, I'll go back to the beginning, sing the whole thing all the way through, so you can use that as a practice and to sing along with. And then we'll call it an introit. So, from the beginning, starting on F. Protector noster, aspice Deus. Couple things. First of all, the shape of that phrase. Look at that. You have the fa that goes up to the la, and then the do. That's kind of the opening one. Then so you have fa, la, do, and then do, la, fa, cadence on mi. Super cool. This is a very interesting kind of phrase. Notice how energetic it is. Normally mode 4 is called the banal mode, banalis. But not this case, not today, not this week. Let's see. So, also on Deus, when we say the word Deus, it's very easy to put a J there. Deus. When you sing it, try not to put the J sound in there. Deus. Deus. Deus, right? So it makes it a lot easier for the choir to stay together. And so one of the things I was noticing this past weekend was our vowels were a little off. Some of the guys who came a little bit late because of parking at our parish, we had like a million things happen at our parishes last weekend. And when you don't practice with your choir, kind of warm up beforehand, what can happen is you don't have all the same like vowel sounds. So some of the guys who showed up, they had a very bright sound, whereas the people, the men who had been there beforehand, they had a much warmer sound. And that kind of, the introit especially, was a little kind of, you could hear the difference in the vowels. Make sure you do practice with your choir, or by yourself or sometime. It's important. Yeah, let's keep going. So we also have the interesting interval. Well, not interesting, just difficult to sing. Major third down. For whatever reason, that's just a hard interval to sing. Let's start from A of aspice, and then I'm going to really slow down on this so you can hear that major third there. So, aspice Dei, da-dum. You can think of Beethoven. Ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum, right? So Beethoven's fifth. Anyway, that's a hard interval, but make sure you give yourself enough time and practice that interval. Get that nice day. Really get it. Let's keep going. Et respice. Et respice. Os et respice in faciem Christi tui. On that hard B, every week I say this when we have one, but I'm going to say it again. The tuning on this is very gentle. Make sure you don't hit it really hard. Make sure the tu is a really warm oo sound. That's going to be important. You don't want to make it really bright. It sounds flat. And that's important. Whenever you have a B, the hard B, make it generous, because otherwise it's going to sound really flat. And then the choir doesn't have the magic of that perfect fifth above the final. That was equal tempered, so it's a little flat, but it needs to have that generous kind of up there sound. So one more time, I'm going to do Christi. I think I went a little sharp, but that's okay. Christi toi. Now you flat it, and then you get this really tender sound. Qui ameliorest dies unam in atris tuis, so per me Hey Craig, thanks for joining us. I'm like 5 minutes late on that, but where was I going? Oh, the atriis. That's right. That's why I don't comment on comments, because I lose my train of thought. In the atriis tuis, right here, this is a hard interval. It's very common in mode 4, but it's a hard little phrase, right? So the minor third with the half step right there. So, in atris tuis. Notice the rhythm too. Tuis. There's a little bit of tension on the half step. Usually a mi-fa half step has a lot of tension in it. So really make sure you take advantage of that and slow down a little bit to emphasize it. It's not really a slow down like a retardando or a change of rhythm. It's more like a slow down like savoring it. You want to kind of hit the rumble strip on the road where and kind of like the car feels like it's not as smooth anymore. And then the super milia. So you have that vertical epizema there on the third note of super, right in here. That's kind of the target note. in the rhythm. So you hear how it kind of it builds up, and that's not necessarily 1 2 1 2 1 1. It's not like that. It's just the two notes beforehand are slightly bigger, and this reminds me of I mentioned this like a couple weeks ago, maybe at the very beginning of when I started this, that Gregorian chant, the idea of Gregorian chant is not the modern idea of music subdivision. We say whole note in America, at least. We say whole note, and then we divide it up infinitely. And I think, that's how we think of music, is that it's infinitely divisible. However, Gregorian chant starts with a punctum, with an atom. So we start with a thing that's this size, and then we build off of that. But we can have different sized atoms. So this is a Greek kind of idea that the atoms, think of the 4 elements. You have 4 different things that are atoms that you can't make bigger or smaller. They're the smallest thing that everything else is built off of. That's kind of the philosophy of it, really quickly and making it very simple. Anyway, the smaller the atom, the quicker it was. So Earth was a very big atom. It's ponderous. And then fire was a very small atom and very quick. It's very quick and agile. It's thought to be the most agile one, other than the quintessence, which is the 5th element, which doesn't exist on Earth. That's for another philosophy video. But anyway, water, it could flow around itself because it was a lot looser, right? So the atoms were smaller. And then the air was even smaller, and so it rose to the top. And fire, being the smallest, rose above that. So in chant, taking that idea of your big thing, and none of these can be divided, right? So an earth atom can't be divided. And of course, I know modern science. I know we can divide them into protons, neutrons, electrons. But even then, electrons are smaller than protons and neutrons. And then you can divide that further into quarks, and those are even bigger and smaller. Anyway, we have bigger and smaller things that we, kind of get at each stage. Same thing here in chant. We have bigger ponderous notes that can be doubled, and that's what the dots do. The dots kind of double them. But the lines here are like earth atoms, right? So they're ponderous, they're longer. Here we have, on super, we have 2 water elements, right? So they're a little larger. They're still 1 unit. And then on the da-dum, those are like air. And then we stick with air after that. And those are like almost fire. So thinking of them as all one, but there's different sizes of one, is like to your brain, because that's not how modern music goes. Modern music is, you have a conductor, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, and then you can subdivide that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and then you can go you can go as far as you want. And we think of a whole note as really big, and then we can divide it. That's kind of a modern understanding of pulse and rhythm that kind of only comes with kind of the Renaissance ideas and more polyphonic textures being added. But in monody, I've never actually said that word out loud. Here it is. There's one line. And you see this in other cultures where they don't have rhythm in the same sense that we do. They have what's called additive rhythm, where you'll have, 7 beats, then 8 beats, then 9 beats, then back to 7. And it's really hard to understand from a Western perspective, European kind of, perspective, because there's no regular repeating pattern. It's not poetry. Anyway, what did all that have to do with super? Well, you have 2 ponderous notes, two earth atoms, so, so, that turn into water, and then air over here. I think I said a different thing, but there you go. You have different elements that are one size. You can't divide an earth atom into two water atoms. They're just, earth atom is an earth atom. You can't divide it. And then a water atom is a water atom. You can't divide it. They're both one. They're both indivisible. But some are bigger than others. That's kind of just take it for what it is. Don't try to argue it or figure it out. It's just, it is what it is. So the same thing here. We're taking different size notes and applying them to the music. And, you know, another video, one that I actually like edit and kind of give a perspective on, would be on like the rhythm of chant, where it comes from, how to kind of talk about it. And we think of it primarily as prose rhythm, where things can be bigger or smaller, and but all one, right? So we're building off one, and that gives it a flexibility, but also a very a good grounded structure. Anyway, let's hear that again. Try to hear the different pulses, right? So the different sizes of the atom, the different sizes of the indivisible punctum, point, right? We even call it a point, punctum. It's indivisible. And kind of try to hear that in a new light, where you're hearing things as different pulses that are indivisible, different points, puncti, but that some puncti are larger than other puncti, right? So let's start from A3Es. I mean, we're gonna sing it all from the beginning, but let's hear it from A3s. In A3s tois, so per mi. Now the verse. Quam dilecta tabernacula tua Domine virtutum, concupiscit et deficit anima mea, in atria Domini. Now notice, I never talked about this. At that double bar line, when we get to the psalm verses, something happens. We go from melismatic chant to non-melismatic chant, to syllabic, right? There's single or double neumes per syllable, and that changes the rhythm a lot. Quam dilecta tabernacula tua Domine virtutum. The reason I did that was the accent was wrong, right? It's not Domine, even though there's more kind of notes on me. It's Domine, right? Domine virtutum. It's important. It's an important distinction. And the syllables here are determining our accent and our rhythm more than the neumes. Above, because of in the antiphon, the neumes determined the rhythm more. When you switch gears, and now the words in a psalm tone, the words take on more of the burden of what the rhythm is. So it's a big shift, and you can hear that in the singing. It's really cool. It's kind of like listening to a old Baroque oratorio where you have the aria, and then it switches to a recitative, where things are less focused on the kind of beauty of the phrasing and more on the individual words. You know, it has a different feel to it, and it's easy to sing. Well, not all of them, but it's easier to sing when you think of it in terms of the words and less in terms of the notes, because otherwise it sounds Quam dilecta tabernacula tua Domine virtutum, bop, 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 and you hear that So the neumes become more flexible. I'd say, like, you know, going back to our atom analogy, maybe these are fire atoms, more fluid and kind of changing with the words, right? Quam dilecta tabernacula tua domine virtutum. That's a lot more musical than kind of pa 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 pa. And I'm not dissing the other way, but I am. It doesn't sound very fluid and musical. It sounds more kind of just recited and kind of mechanical. And maybe that's what your choir director wants to go for. Let me try to make that sound beautiful. Quam dilecta tabernacula tua domine virtutum. A little slower. It was more mechanical, but was that less beautiful? Maybe. I don't like that sound. It tends to drag. It tends to sound burdened. But if you are going to sing it that way, make sure the syllables are light. Whenever you're slowing down, you want to lighten everything and not bear down on them, and that's a big temptation. Anyway, let's go back to the beginning, sing the whole thing. I've been talking a ton on this one about things that don't even matter, and we're over our 20-minute mark. So there goes my goal of being under 20 minutes. So. From the beginning all the way through, no stops unless something really earth-shattering comes up, and then we'll call that an introit. Protector noster, aspice Deus, et respice in faciem Christi tui, qui ameli orest dies in atris tuis, super mihi. There was a slight mistake back there. Let me go back over that. The specific note I got wrong was that guy. It was just out of tune, so let's get it right back into the verse. Qui dilecta tabernacula tua domine virtutum, concupiscit et deficit anima mea in atria Domini. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. Protector noster. And that's the rest of it. All right. So thank you so much for joining me. My name is William. This has been a pleasure going through the Introit with you. Remember to click subscribe, bell icon. We'll see you in the next video. We're going to go over the offertory, then the communion. And if you want to watch them all, they're all kind of in a playlist. I make them a playlist for every Sunday that we're doing, and I try to live stream them midweek or early week. And we'll see you in the next video. Happy chanting, and God bless you. Bye.